Hello everybody, welcome. I'm Zoe Ellis, welcome. In this reading that I'm going to provide you, this is going to be an individual reading for Leo for April 23rd to May 3rd of 2025. So basically in this reading I'm going to provide you that whoever you are a Leo between a feminine or a guy as in the man situation, there is a way of knowing what to do in this way, and it's the way it seems to be in that way, right? We have to understand about our own conclusions, our own dignity, our own self-respect, our own ways about considering the following. That's why it seems to be that, and that's the way it kind of goes, right? So you have to you have to understand about what's going on in that situation, whether you like it or not, whether the way of how you can emphasize of how you're feeling, how you're going to be wanted, how you're going to be needed, how are you going to do whatever it takes. Because you have to provide what you're looking for, whether it's based on that, whether you have your own dignity, your own self-respect, your own ways of considering the following. The following is like where you have your own manners to understand that. You have your own dignity and self-respect about how it's going to be, where you're going to get along with others, where you're not going to get along with others. That's the way it goes, right? You have to understand about this is a crystal clear situation, whether things will be going the right way or the wrong way. But you know what? It doesn't matter because you have to pay attention whether you're feeling good or how it is. So that's how it seems to be in that way. So everything is all good at the moment, but this is the way it seems to be, and this is the way it kind of concludes, right? So we have to understand that. We have to do whatever it takes to understand about it, and we have to do exactly what we are going to be doing, right? So we have to believe that in our own situated way and say, alright, well, this is the way it needs to be, this is the way it needs to understand that, that's how it is. So you have to understand that. So I'm going to look at what's going on in the situations of what's happening, and this is the way it kind of concludes in that way. But I'm going to read you an oracle card first. Perseverance. I know that I can do whatever I set my mind to. That's the way it goes. Where you have your own perseverance, you do what it takes, you do what you're doing, and you have to follow your own footsteps, your own footprints, whatever it is. But then you have to believe that you can do it. That's the way it kind of goes. Everything has to be all good. But then you have to understand that, alright, well, this is the way it's going to be. I know what to do. I got this. I know how everything will be. That's what it's going to be. And you need to understand that because everything has to be good and you have to know what it takes. But then it seems to be that. That's the way it goes. That's the way it seems to be. And you have to be who you are and say, alright, well, this is the way it kind of concludes. But that's what it seems to be. You have to use your own perseverance. That's what it's going to be. So let me see what's going on. So I'm going to see what's happening in that way. Basically I'm going to do a different, it's a reading, right? So it's going to be very interesting of how it is. This is the way it kind of concludes, because that's the way it is at the moment. That's the way it seems to be. So that's the way it kind of is at the moment, because that's the way it is, right? And you have to understand that when you do exactly what it takes, but then you have to provide what you're looking for. That's what it is. So here we go. So it's like, this is a very interesting reading, okay? So because you have the Empress, you have nourishment. Judgment reverse, you have no action. The Queen of Cups reverse, you're not using empathy, two sides of the story here, nothing about that. The Seven Pentacles is upright where you're looking for a career, that's the way it goes. Seven Wands is upright where you're feeling like silent, you're feeling like there was something that was happening in that way of how it is. The Six Pentacles reverse, you're not having any kindness, because the way how this is, the way how I can see it, it's basically how it is, and you're thinking, well, this is not going to end well. It's not, because you're focusing on what's going on in that way, and you're thinking, well, this is the way it needs to be, I got this. But it's like, why? Why you need to do that? Why you need to, whatever it takes, right? That's why it seems to be. That's why it's kind of go with the interesting way of saying, alright, this is how it is. So let's see what's going on. That's going on for Leo. April 23rd to May 3rd, 2025. Let's see what's going on. So let me look at past situation. So I'm going to go to the past, the future, past, the present, and the future. But I'm going to look what's going on. So let's see. Right, so let me clarify this Queen of Cups here. The 6 of Wands is upright, followed with the 7 of Wands is upright. Yeah, because you're feeling silence, you want to celebrate, that's the way it goes. So, you could be dealing with another Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, as another fire sign, as zodiac signs, that's the way it seems to be. Because you want to celebrate, you want to do things, you want to, how you can do it, right? You have to do what you can, right? This is like almost like a manual script, or whatever it is. But then you have to think, alright, this is the way it seems to be, I got this. But it's like, well, does make sense. Does it make that priority making sense? That's the way it seems to be. What's this Emperor's card about? The moon is upright, followed by the Hermit is upright. Yeah, because you want to have misrotations. You could be, looking for a soulmate, because you're having solitude, whatever it is, because you have to think about, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do, but then it's like, well, this is how it seems to be. You have to consider your options. You have to have your own dignity, your own self-respect, your own the way of how it seems to be. It's the way of how you can do it in one way or another. That's the way it seems to be. You have to put it into writing. You have to put it in your own feelings, your own wants, your own needs, your own dignity and self-respect. That's why it seems to be in that. What's this Judgment about? Ace of Wands reverse, followed the Justice reverse, followed the 7 of Cups reverse, followed the Magician reverse, followed the Fool is upright. Yeah, because you're not telling the truth, but then you want change, right? You want change because that's the way it goes. You want to feel that everything is going to change in that perspective. You're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do, but then it's like, well, do you have the right feeling? Do you understand what it takes, right? That's why it seems to be. So, let me try to figure out this. So, the 7 of Pentacles and the 7 of Wands. I'm going to clarify this. So, I'll do a 3-card reading. King of Wands is upright, followed with the 10 of Pentacles is upright, followed the Emperor is upright. Yeah, because you want structure, you want money, you want, the King of Wands represents like passion, whatever it is. You have to understand that, right? Because you have to believe that what it takes, that's beyond that point of view, right? If you have wealth, you know what to do, you know what it takes, you know how it seems to be, because you have to believe that everything seems to be fine and saying, alright, well, this is the way it goes. Yes, but you have to do what it takes and say, well, does it make sense? Does it make any sense to do this, right? This is the way it seems to be. Because this is not a write-off situation. This is not how it is. But the way of how this is, that's the way it seems to be. What's happening with the 6 of Pentacles here? The Cups is upright, followed the 2 of Swords is upright, followed the 3 of Wands reversed. Yeah, because you're not going to have any communication. I don't know why about that, because that's the way it seems to be in that way. Because when you have no communication, you're not going to communicate. You don't want to, because you're feeling like you're being offensive, or you're being offense, or whatever it is. Because you're backing off from the communication. It's like you're telling to someone to back off, leave me alone, or I'm not going to talk to you, or whatever it is, because something was bothering you. Something was just how it seemed to be, because you're thinking, well, this is not going to end well. It's not, because you have to focus on what's going on. You have to focus about having your own perseverance, your own ways, your own dignity, and how you're feeling. That's why it seems to be. What's happening with this 2 of Swords? So we're going to figure out what's going on the left side and the right side. 9 of Swords reversed, followed by the 5 of Pentacles upright. So you want to look for money on the left side, on that position. That's the way it goes. What's happening on the right side? The Page of Cups is upright. Yeah, because you want loyalty. Yeah, that's the way it goes. Because you're trying to find the right balance. You're trying to find on how it is in one way or another. You're trying to figuring out. Okay, well, this is not a figurine. This is not the way how it goes. No, but the way of how this is, the way of how things are, you have to do what it takes to understand what's happening in that situation. So let's see what's going on. Let's see what's happening. So I'm going to go from the middle to the left, middle to the right. We're going to see what's going on. And then I'll do the universe and everything else. And oracle cards, and then the end of the video will be the Enchanted Mapp and stuff. Okay, so here we go. High Priestess reversed, followed by the Five of Cups reversed, followed by the Knight of Swords reversed, followed by the Eight Wands is upright, followed by the Emperor's upright, followed by the Tower's upright. So basically you want speed, you want structure, you want the Tower represents everything's going to change. That's why it seems to be in that way. You're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be, I got this, but then it's like, well, does it make sense? Does it make that priority sense of how you can do it, right? You have your own sensitivity, or maybe you're thinking that this is a good sense rather than having nonsense, whatever it is, right? That's why it seems to be in that way. That's why everything has to be in the right moment, right? That's why it seems to be where you have to understand both. You have to think both every day, that's the way it seems to be, right? Because that's how it is. So what's happening between the middle and the right side? Four of Pentacles is upright, followed by the Four of Wands reverse, followed by the Nine of Wands is upright, followed by the Hangman reverse, followed by the Two of Pentacles reverse, followed by the Magician reverse, followed by the Devil reverse, followed by the Nine of Swords reverse, followed by the Two of Wands is upright. Yeah, because you want to be planning. You want to plan on how everything is in that way. You're trying to, you don't want to have fear. You don't want to do that, but you're planning on something. When you're planning, it's like you're going to plan on how you're feeling, how you're going to be wanted, how you're going to be needed, how you can do whatever it takes. Because that's the way it seems to be, because you're not trying to play the waiting game. That's the way it goes. So what's happening on the left side? Tower is upright, there's transformation. Okay, what's in the middle? Wheel of Fortune, you're going to have good luck. What's happening on the right side? The Empress is upright because you want to have nourishment. Alright, so that's why it seems to be. So let's see what's going on. Let me clarify on the left side, please. The Empress reversed, followed with the Devil reversed, followed with the High Priestess upright. Yeah, because you want to use your inner voice, because everything has to be all a coordinate of how it is, right? Because this is the way of how it goes. This is why it seems to be, because that's the way it seems to be. You have to know what's going on in that way. You're thinking, well, this is the way it needs to be. I need to take this. I need to take it as a wonderful feeling, because that's the way it seems to be. Because you have to know what it takes to be on that point. Beyond that point. That's why it is. What's happening in the middle of this Wheel of Fortune? The Judgment is upright, followed by the Death card. So you want endings and you want to take action, because that's the way it kind of includes with that situation. Because you're thinking, well, this is the way of how it goes. I need to be who I am. I need to focus on this. Yes, but you have to know that when things go the right way, you pay attention to it. But when things are happening all at once, and there's like endings and there's things, and you're thinking, well, this is not going to end well. It's not, because you're focusing on what's happening behind you, or focusing about the bad scenes, or everything else, right? Because you're thinking that, well, I don't know what to do. Well, because you're basically like questioning yourself, right? You don't know why. You don't know what the reasons are. That's why it seems to be in that way. What's happening with this Empress card? The Chariot is upright, followed by the Emperor reversed, followed by the Wheel of Fortune is upright. Yeah, because you want to have good luck on your side. You don't have any structure, but then you have progress. That's the way it goes. When you have good luck and progress, everything is going to be coming in the way of how this is, the way of how this is going to be in that way, and you're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I need to know what it takes. I need to be on this whole entire fairy tale of how it's going to be. That's why it seems to be that, because in that aspect of how you're feeling, you're thinking, well, this is the way it needs to be. This is the way it is, right? And when you do that, you have to know that everything seems to be fine. So let me see what's going on, and let's see what's going on for the left side, the middle, and the right. And let's see, on the left side, it is 8 of Earth is skilled workers rewarded, learning all there is to know about a topic, going back to school. That's the way it goes, because this is like a topic getter in this situation, whether you need to understand about how you can do it, how you can, the way of how it is, right? That's the way it seems to be. And you could be focusing on a Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus as the way of how it goes, and you have to think, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. This is the way it kind of goes, right? That's how it seems to be, because you're trying to learn something in that own perspective. That's the way it seems to be in that way, okay? What's happening on the middle side? The world, Archangel Michael is a job well done, joy, contentment, and gratitude. The path toward enlightenment. Yeah, because basically, you think that everything is all completed. Yes, it is, but you have to be on that point of considering your reasons behind it. You have to think, okay, well, this is the way it happens. This is why I'm feeling like this. Yes, but you have to think that this is going to be a gradual situation. That's the way it kind of goes. Because in that way, you think, okay, well, everything's going to be concluded. All right, I got this. Yes, but you have to give it time. You have to believe that what it takes, because beyond about that situation on how it is in that way. All right. What's happening on the right side? Unity. Archangel Xenophon is traditional viewpoints or methods. Spiritual organizations seek out mentors and like-minded friends. That's the way it goes, where you have your own mentors, your own stability of having the right and wrong perspective. But then you know what it takes, because when you have your own mentors, when you have how it seems to be, you have to know what it is, because beyond about that point, whether things will be in that way, and you're thinking, alright, well, everything's going to be good. I got this. It's like, yeah, but it needs to be that way. I'm saying, alright, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do, but that's how it is, right? Right, so let's see what the oracle cards are going to say. So let's see who's on the left side. We have the Mapmaker of Destiny, authentic purpose, inspiration, and free will. That's the way it goes, where you can be thinking about you're feeling authentic, or you're feeling like you're going to have, inspiration, or you're going to have free will. There's the things that you need to learn in order to understand that. That's why you kind of impose about that situation, say, well, this is the way it goes. I need to do it. I need to do this as fair play. That's the way it goes, right? Because when you do what it takes, it could be that interesting way. So, for the masculine, it could be focusing on about a Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus as a masculine. So that's the way it kind of goes, alright? What's happening in the middle? The Camel Boy. Small steps, asking for help. That's the way it goes, where you need to have small steps to do what you can. Because there's a good saying, slow instead wins the race. That's the way it goes. But then you have to understand about, there is quality. There is the way of how you can do what it takes and saying, right, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do, but then it's like, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what it takes. That's why it is. That's why it's beyond about that point, whether you like it or not. But then if you're asking for help or whatever it is, that's why it seems to be. That's why it seems to be in that way. Okay. And what's happening on the right side? The Wise Woman of Wonderland. Integrity, compromise. Yeah, that's the way it goes, right? Because when you have dignity, or you have self-respect, or you have things to be going your way, that's the way it goes. Maybe you're having compromise. Maybe you're going to compromise about how everything's going to be in that way. And you're thinking, all right, this is the way of how it works, how it goes. Because the way of how this is, right? That's the way it's beyond that point. Because things have to be a way of knowing what to do and saying, all right, this is beyond about this way. This is beyond about this whole entire picture, or whatever it is. Because this is the way it goes. Because in that way, you have to think about, well, if I compromise, I know what it takes. Because this is the way it seems to be. That's why it seems to be that. Alright, so let me figure out. So, who's on the left? Three of Swords top right, so there's going to be heartbreak. What's in the middle? Two of Cups top right, there's relationships, alright? What's on the right? Page of Swords top right, there's education. Alright, so what's going on with this heartbreak here on the left side? Ace of Pentacles, yours, there's no growth. For the Five of Swords, yours, there's no revenge. The Strength card, yours, there's no bravery. But Queen of Swords, right, there's independence. Alright, so basically you're being afraid, but then you're going to have your own confidence about having your own independence about, doing what it takes. Because the way of how this is, it's like how you can do it, how you can understand that, of how it seems to be in that way. Because you have to do what it takes, because that's the way it seems to be in that way. What's happening with this relationships? For one, separate, there's going to be celebration. Ten Pentacles separate because you're focusing on your career. Yeah, because you're focusing on your career, you want celebration, you want things to be in that way. That's the way it kind of includes. So you could be focusing on another Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. You're focusing on Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. You're focusing on Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. That's why it seems to be in that way. You could be focusing on Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio as well at the same time. That's the way it goes, because that's the way it seems to be. And you have to understand that this is the way of how gradual it seems to be in that way, right? Because you think, okay, well, I know what to do, I got this, but it seems to be that. That's why it kind of concludes that. What's happening on the right side? The Hierophant is upright gives you want guidance. Page of Pentacles upright gives you want prospects. Yeah, because you want things to be in the right direction. You want to have guidance. You want to have prospects. You want things to be in the right perspective. That's why it seems to be right. And when you do that, it's like, well, this is how it is. I need to be neat and tidy. I need to do what it takes. I need beyond about this whole entire risk or whatever it is, because you have to think. You have to think and say, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do, but then it's like, well, doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense, and think, all right, well, this is the way it kind of goes. I need understanding about how it is, right? That's why it seems to be that. So let's see what's going on here. Alright, so let's see what it says. Number 16, and it's reversed, rescue. So it's going to be very interesting indeed. So it says, for is the way it kind of goes in this how it says. So here we go. Reverses. Are you trying to rescue another? Do you believe your love can change someone and miraculously heal this person? Or are you waiting to be rescued? Do you believe that someone will sweep you off your feet, take away all of your troubles? Reversed. The rescue card cautions you against romanticizing your situation right now. Look closely and see reality as it is, rather than the illusion of how you would like it to be. You need to step back and rescue yourself. Trust that spirit will guide you to expose the illusion so that you may discern the difference between truth and fantasy. So it means that you need to focus on yourself. And when you do that, you have to focus about how you're feeling, how you're going to be wanted, how you're going to be feeling, and the way of how this is, right? That's the way it kind of goes. Because the way of how this is, the way of how it seems to be, you have to know what it takes. You have to be on about that point, right? Because when you're taking your own risk, if you're taking about what's going on in that situation, you have to do that, right? If you're using your own perseverance, if you're using about what's going on, because you have to focus about that. You have to focus about what's going on in that situation, whether you like it or not, but then it's based on that, on how it is, right? This is beyond about how it is. This is beyond about how you can understand that. Because when you believe about what's going to be, you have to understand about all the circumstances, all the rights, all the things that you must learn first, right? That's the way it goes. Because you have to know that when you believe on how you're feeling, that's why it seems to be that. That's why it is, and that's how it is. So, before I let you go, pay attention about what's going on in this situation and understand that. That's why it seems to be that, and that's how it is. So, I hope you all like this video. Please give it a like, please give it a comment and enjoy, and this is the way it seems to be. So, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye for now. Really, thank you, and bye.